Welcome students to week one of the spring 2022 semester. Good afternoon, Christina. How are you doing? And Charlotte, love that picture of your family. So in week one, I'm going to go over and prepare for the week one quiz. So you should always watch my Zoom videos before you take your week one quiz, because I go over all the questions of the week one quiz in my Zoom lectures. And so unless you have any other questions, and for week one, all you have to do is just do your week one forum and take your week one quiz. And you can access your quiz by clicking on modules. And when you click on modules, you can access everything. And so then, after you click on modules, then you scroll on down until you see week one quiz. So just remember to click on modules. So Christina, Charlotte, and Latoya, welcome to the class. And so I'm going to now start and share my screen, and I'm going to go over the week one quiz. So here is the week one quiz. And so on the week one quiz, in this week one instructor session, so for week one, you introduce yourself in the week one forum, you attend the Zoom meeting or watch the recording. You score 100% on your practice test before taking. The practice test is in this lesson. So when you study this lesson, after you read over the grammar rules and after I go over it, and then practice yourself taking the practice quiz. If you can score 100% on the practice quiz, which is in this lesson, by yourself, then you're ready to take the actual quiz. So if you study my notes first before you take your quiz, you will get a better grade. And so then after you study these notes, get the 100% on your practice quiz, then you can take the online quiz, which is under modules. So I'm going to start today's lesson. Okay, for the week one quiz, we're going to go over parts of speech. What is a subject and verb in a sentence? We're going to go over verb tenses. We're going to go over, and then we're going to take the week one quiz practice test together, in which all of us are going to practice the quiz. So that way you will know right away how well you've mastered the lecture. So if we can all get 100%, then you can go and take your the real quiz. So let's get started. So the grammar's concept. Study this section carefully, because the answers to the practice quiz are embedded in these grammar concept explanations. Memorize these sentences, because these sentences are on your week one quiz. Parts of speech. And so parts of speech simply means different grammar words that make up the English language. And so you have three kinds of nouns. So what is a noun? A noun is a person, place, or thing. So examples of a common noun is book, river, table. Those are all common nouns. A plural noun means more than one thing, person, or place. So examples of common plural nouns are books, rivers, tables. Proper nouns. Proper noun is name and titles, names of places, people, and things. And every time you have a proper noun, it's always capitalized. And so examples of proper nouns is King James, Uncle Steve, Aunt Janet, Ronald Reagan. And so a proper noun is always somebody's name. Oh, so hey Christina, it says Christina, but are you Christina? I can't hear you. You have to unmute.
I'm actually Mackie. This is my wife's computer, so
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Nice to meet you, Mackie. So,
hello.
yeah, I had another student who did the same thing, and he really didn't look like a Pamela. So he also had a beard, and he goes, "Oh, that's my wife's computer," because Pamela just okay. So it was just confusing for a second. So if anybody wants to turn on their camera, I could just say hello. And so, which one is a noun? Ran, river, or lumpy? Pretend that I didn't give you the answer. Good afternoon, Charlotte. So which one is a noun? Ran, river, or lumpy?
River.
River, because river is a place. So remember that a noun is a person, place, or thing. Did you learn all of this stuff in second and third grade?
Yes.
Yes. Did you teach your children this? Do you remember teaching them this in first, second, and third grade?
Yes.
Yeah, so now you got to learn it again. Janet earned first place in the poetry competition. What type of noun is the underlined word? Is it a plural noun, a proper noun, or a common noun? And so here this is a proper noun because it is the name of a person. So remember, a proper noun are always names and titles of people, places, or things. Like Alabama or Florida, that's also a proper noun because it's the name of a place. My aunt makes the best chocolate cake. What type of noun is the underlined word? Here, aunt is a common noun because it doesn't name which aunt. It doesn't say Aunt Jane or Aunt Sharon. It can be anybody. So an aunt then just becomes a person. So therefore, when it's just a person, it's a common noun. If you name who it is, like Aunt Jane, then it becomes a proper noun. This becomes important when on the quiz they will ask you, Aunt Jane is what kind of noun? Is that a common noun or a proper noun? Because if it is a common noun, you don't have to capitalize it. If it's a proper noun, you have to capitalize it. So that's why it's important to know the difference between a common noun and a proper noun. And so here, my aunt makes the best chocolate cake, and that's a common noun. Everyone got it so far? Remember your second grade grammar? Pronoun. A pronoun replaces a noun. A pronoun must agree with the noun it replaces. And the noun that the pronoun replaces is called an antecedent. So if I say John is from Paris, he speaks French. So the word John is the antecedent. And then he is the pronoun that replaces John. And then you'll notice that John is a guy, and so if he's a guy, then you would say he. If it's a girl, you would say she. And if there's more than one person, you would say they. And so pronouns agree in gender and in how many people there are, okay? So in quantity. So those are the two things that pronouns agree in. And then there are two kinds of pronouns. You have a subject pronoun and object pronouns. Subject pronouns are like I, we, they, and they come before the noun. So I am going to go to the store. And so I is the subject pronoun because I is the subject of the sentence. That's why they call it a subject pronoun. And subject pronouns come, as I said, before the verb. Object pronouns come after the verb because it is used as an object. In other words, if I say, so object pronouns would be like me, him, her, them. So I gave her a present. So I wouldn't say I gave she a present, okay? So we always use, so one thing to remember is that we don't say he is taller than me. We would say he is taller than I. He is taller than I am. That's basically that's the short version. And so anytime you have a pronoun after a verb, that is an object pronoun, and if it's before the verb, it is a subject pronoun. And so here you have Janet is fun. She loves movies. Janet, you can't say he. Okay, so here you have to agree in gender, and then you have to agree with children are important. They are cute. It has to agree in how many of them there are. A child is innocent. So Janet, child, children are all known as antecedents, and then the pronoun, here you have a subject pronoun, and these are all subject pronouns because they come before the verb. Is that everybody clear on that so far? Yeah. Okay, so this is something from your quiz. What is the correct pronoun to use for the antecedent children? Do we say the children played with their, them, or his or her toys all day? Although in this case it has an answer. And so here the answer is the children played with their toys all day. And so here their replaces children. Okay, so here you have a possessive pronoun. And so here, that's it for pronouns. Okay, so your pronoun has to agree in gender and quantity. Is that clear? So what is a subject pronoun? Latoya, what's a subject pronoun? Not Christina, sorry. Mackie, what is a subject pronoun?
I mean, just a pronoun of a subject that is in the sentence. I don't.
Yeah. So give me an example of a subject pronoun.
The dog takes a walk in the morning when he has to use the bathroom.
Excellent. Okay, so you used he, so that is a subject pronoun when he has to go to the bathroom. So here, and so when we have to know the difference between a subject and object pronoun. Subject and verb. The subject of the sentence comes before the verb. So here you have a simple sentence. The dog, which is the subject, chased, which is the verb, the cat, object, around the yard, preposition. So preposition is a phrase that indicates time and place. So the subject does the action. The verb is the action. The object receives the action. The preposition shows where something is. So true or false. The subject of a sentence tells who or what the sentence is about, or who or what is doing the action. Is that true or false? True, yes, because I said that. And so here the subject does the action, and the verb is the action, and the object receives the action. So that means that an object pronoun receives the action of the verb. And then the subject pronoun is the one that does the action. Like I, he, she. I went to the store. I walk. I teach this lesson. Therefore, I are all subject pronouns. And then I teach them, that means the students, the lesson. So them, the object pronouns, they're receiving the action of being taught. So the object always receives the action, and then the subject is the one that does the action and then teaches. The verb is the action. And then here you have several kinds of subjects. You have a singular subject, such as the dog chased after the cat. Plural subject means more than one dog or more than one subject. You would have many dogs chased after the cat. And so here is a quiz question. Which one demonstrates a plural subject? A, B, or C? This time there's no answer there.
A.
A, yes. So here you have, and we don't say the coat's zipper. We don't put apostrophes. When we do a plural, we don't put apostrophes anywhere. Okay, that's a common mistake, and that also tests you up. They also do that with the multiple choices. Regular, and each one of these that I just went over represents a chapter in your book. So if you want to read more about subject and verbs, that would be chapter 21 in your book. And if you want to read more about pronouns, I don't think I wrote the pronoun, but each one of these represents a different chapter in your book. And so now this whole thing is going to go about chapter 24 in your book. So in English, we have regular and irregular verbs. And in English, the verb is the one that does the action. And we have different verb tenses, like past tense, present tense, and future tense. The simple past tense is formed when the verb, and when it's a regular verb, simple past tense is always ed, such as walked. Okay, so examples would be walked, talked, not teached. What would be another one? Those are anyway, ed. Okay. And then if you have an irregular verb, so these are known as regular verbs, regular past tense verbs. And then if you have an irregular past tense verb, okay, for irregular verbs, then it's instead of, we don't say teached, right? We say taught. We say spoke. We don't say speaked. All right. So certain verbs that are irregular, because normally you would say ed, but irregular verbs are irregular because when you form the past tense, it doesn't follow the usual rule, and instead it becomes taught, spoke. And you have to memorize. You can Google yourself irregular verb past tense, and it will give you a whole section, a whole list of verbs. And then you're supposed to memorize this in about 5th grade. Did you memorize your irregular verbs in approximately 5th grade? Do you remember? Speak, spoke, spoken?
Probably. Heard it.
Was, were, been. That's basically what you would learn. So those are known as irregular verbs because those are, if you're an ESL student, you would have had that drilled into your head by your grammar teacher, because when you learn a language, a second language, you have to learn the grammar more so than someone who's native speaker. So the past participle is used when you have a verb tense that has have or had. So here is a past participle. I had parked my car in the parking lot, and then I got lost. Okay, and then here another one. I have lived in LA for many years. So this is a past participle because this is a past participle because here you have had parked yesterday. Present participle, I have lived in LA. So anytime we form a verb tense with have and had, it's known as either a past participle or a present participle. It's known as a past participle, excuse me. And then a present participle is formed by using ing. And so here a present participle would be like it's like the progressive tense, okay? This is the progressive. That's another way of saying it. Progressive verb tense. I am teaching this lesson. You are learning grammar, okay? That's sort of, this is called the present progressive or the present participle. Or you can have it as a gerund. Speaking English is really hard. So that's a different topic. So verbs can come in different tenses, simple, past, present, and future. And also verb tenses can be active voice or passive voice. Verb tenses show time. Verb tenses reflect state and existence. And verb tenses reflect action. And so when we have active voice, all right, so let's go here. So here you have present tense, past participle. Have shouted, had shouted. Present participle, I am shouting, he is shouting, they are shouting. Verb tenses can be active tense or passive tense. An active tense is when the subject does the action. The car ran over the bird. Passive tense is when the subject receives the action, okay? The bird was run over by the car. And so here the subject of the sentence is receiving the action, and here the subject is not doing any of the action. The bird is just standing there and it's being run over by the car. So whenever you have a subject that's receiving the action, that's known as a passive voice. And then when you're doing the action, it's active voice. When you're writing your essay, you want to stick to active voice because that makes your essay sound more dynamic. And so here, that's basically, does everyone understand the difference between active voice and passive voice? So the students are listening. So here, the students are being taught English. So students are receiving the action of being taught English. Another thing about passive voice is that it's formed by be plus the past participle. So I am being taught English. The car was run over. And so was is the past, is the be form, and then you have the past plus the past tense of a verb. So here plus past tense run. So that is how we form passive voice. Here you have the be verb, just like it be verb plus past tense. Plus. I can't seem to get plus. Okay, past tense. So the be verb here is being, and then you have the past tense, and the be verb here, okay, is was. So be plus the past tense is how we have, that's how you recognize when you have passive voice. Whereas here, there is no be verb. When you have active voice, you simply just have the verb. Either you have a simple tense verb, past tense verb, or future tense verb. The car will run over the bird. That would be future tense. The car runs over the bird, present tense. Yesterday, the car ran over the bird, past tense. So you can have different tenses to the verb, and but the subject is still doing the action at different times. So this is known as active voice. As a result, verb tenses can refer to time, it can refer to action, and it can refer to states of existence, like John is French. And here, when I say John is French, John's not doing any action. It's simply stating an existence or stating a fact. So that also is a function of the verb. Verb is stating existence. And so here, today I stay home. So here I'm giving an example of how verb tenses refer to time. Yesterday I went to the store. Today I stay home. Tomorrow I go to work. Now this is your quiz. Which one is not true about verb tenses? Verb tenses refer to a verb being active or passive. Is that true or false? Is that true or false? Which one is not true about the verb tense? A, B, or C?
B.
B. Tense refers to how, because I wrote this is the correct answer. Tense refers, don't worry, your practice quiz is not going to have the correct answer, so that will really test you. This is just this part of it, I'm just going over what it is and giving you examples of how it looks on your quiz, and then how it relates to all of these grammar rules. And so here I just went over that yes, verb tenses can be either active or passive, just like I just said. I said the car is run over by the bird. And so then I said tenses can represent time, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So you know that A and C are true. So the only one left is B, like you just said. So when we talk about stress, then we're talking about syllables. So when we talk about stress in English, we're talking about how we pronounce words. So if I say privacy instead of, so I'm saying privacy. And so I'm putting the stress on the first syllable of pri. That's what we talk about when we're saying something is stressed. We're talking about pronunciation. And whereas British English, they say privacy because they stress VA instead of PRI. They say privacy. I want my privacy. And so when we're talking about stress, we're talking about pronunciation, we're talking about accents in English. So that does not have anything to do with verb tenses. Is that clear?
Yep.
Yes. Which one represents an active verb tense? The child kicked the ball into, this is also on your quiz. So whenever I go like, this is your quiz, I should have, well, anyway, so this is your quiz. The child kicked the ball into the street, or is it the ball was kicked into the street? Which one represents active voice? Anybody? Charlotte, which one is active voice? Why is the answer A? Latoya, why is the answer A?
Because it's referencing to a child kicking the ball into the street.
Yes, because the child is the one kicking the ball, because the child, the subject, is doing the action. And also whenever we see a passive voice, we always see be plus past tense. Okay, so here the be verb in this case is was, and then the past tense is kicked, was kicked. So that's another way of seeing, okay, that's passive voice. So that means that the ball is receiving the action of being kicked into the street. So whenever the subject is receiving the action, it's passive voice. We use passive voice a lot when we write a science paper. But when we write an essay for this class, you're going to be using mainly active voice. And in your week 11 lecture, I will go over how you will write a science paper, because when you take your other science classes, you might have to write a science paper. So that's when you use a passive voice. Here, which sentence represents passive voice verb tense? The car was steered to the side of the road. The driver steered the car to the side of the road. And so, which one is passive voice?
A, because the car was steered.
Exactly. Here you
Instead
have
of the driver steered it.
yes. And so if I also, passive voice has many different tenses. If I say the car is being steered to the side of the road, the car will be steered to the side of the road. What else? The car, okay, off the top of my head, that's all I can think of. Anyway, so all of these are also examples of passive voice, because you have the be verb and here you have past tense. So the be verb can change tenses. So here you can have a passive voice, the car is being steered to the side of the road. So that's still a passive voice. And then tomorrow, so here the car is being steered right now to the side of the road, and that's right now. Tomorrow, the car will be steered to the side of the road. So in each case, the car is receiving the action. And so all of these, if you have any, it's not always was, all right? So you can have many different variations, but the one thing they all have in common is that the object or the subject receives the action, number one, and you have a be verb plus past participle. So here, be verb is being, past participle is steered. The be verb is will be, and the past participle is steered. And then here, you don't have any be verb, therefore, that's not even a past participle. That's how you tell the difference, is by the formation of the verb. And so let me put this back to the way it was before, so that future students, yeah. So does everyone understand the difference between passive voice and active voice?
Yep.
Yes. Now, if you want to read more about it, it's chapter, did I write what chapter it is? Chapter 24 in your book. Now we're going to go over chapter 25 of your book. Subject-verb agreement. Did everybody read the book already?
I did.
Okay. So did the book cover it like this?
Not exactly.
Oh, okay. Did you understand it like this?
I understood it.
Yeah, because this is all review of what you learned in, I'm guessing, now we're going to middle school instead of second grade. Okay, so subject-verb agreement. So a verb must agree with the subject in number. A singular subject takes a singular verb. A plural subject takes a plural verb. So here you would say Jane is. We don't say Jane were. And Jane and Mike are. So when you have plural subject Jane and Mike, it takes are. And if you have singular subject Jane, it takes is. And so here you have a quiz question. I think this does not count. Yeah. Which of the following is true about subject-verb agreement? It says A, if the subject is plural, the verb needs to be plural. Is it B, a subject is singular, the verb needs to be plural? Or if a subject is plural, the verb needs to be singular. And so which one is the true one? Is it A, B, or C?
For sure, A.
A, yes, that's correct. And also if the subject is singular, here, if I change the word here to singular, this could also be correct, okay? So here, if the subject is singular, the verb needs to be singular. So this was where they trip you up, is they write you the wrong one. So here, and then here, if you want to be PC correct, in the old days, in the old grammar book, when you have a everyone, everybody, everything, somebody, someone, something, you always have a singular pronoun. Everyone does his or her work. Each person does his or her own work. So every time you, in traditional grammar, everyone, everything, nobody, nothing, each and every usually all take a singular verb. And so nobody is perfect. Every man, woman, and child is responsible for their action. And so even though it sounds plural, in traditional grammar, we use his or her. In the new grammar, where you have gender identity, and you don't want, some people can identify with their his or the her, we tend to use their so that we're gender neutral. For this quiz, you're going to stick with the traditional of everyone does his or her homework. Everyone, everything, nobody, nothing, each, every, plus a singular verb. But when we do business writing, we would say every person does their work. Everybody does their work. So when we do business communication, we write in a gender neutral way. And so you would have to consult your business writing book for more information on that. Now let's get back to your quiz. And then when we use a gerund, another one that takes is gerunds also take a singular. So shopping, what's a gerund? Okay, if I just threw in that word without saying what that is. A gerund is an ing or a verb-like looking word that acts like a noun. Okay, so normally if I say he is shopping, so here shopping is used as a verb, okay, because it's an action. Someone is doing the action of shopping. However, if I use the word shopping, is fun. Here, the word shopping is used as a noun. Remember that nouns are, subjects tend to be nouns, okay? So when we use a verb-like word as a noun, that's known as a gerund. And every time you have a gerund subject, every time you have a gerund subject, it takes a singular verb. Why is this important? Because here you have a gerund subject hovering overhead at the scene of the accident. This is a gerund subject, and therefore, oh, I'm wrong. Oops. What did I just do? Okay, here I did this wrong. All right, so anyway, it doesn't really matter. Whenever you have a gerund subject, okay, this is something different, but it's still the rule still applies. It just doesn't have anything to do with this sentence. Anyway, anytime you have a gerund sentence, gerund subject, it's still a, so eating at a restaurant, you know, is a easy thing to do. So when you have a gerund subject, you still have a singular verb. Then when you have a simple sentence, this seems to be a prepositional phrase.
Professor
Okay?
H.
Yeah.
Hey, before you go on, if you go up, you have a typo up there.
Where?
Up on that other page where it says new grammar book. Go down. Where it says new grammar book, it just says every does their homework.
Oh, everyone. Yeah, thanks. Everyone does their homework. Thanks. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So when we have a simple sentence, you can have a prepositional phrase plus a verb plus a subject. So here, for example, over the hill sits a red house, something like that. And so here you have the prepositional phrase over the hill, which indicates place. Then you have the verb sits, and then you have the subject, a red house. Therefore, if I have a singular subject, red house, I have a singular verb, sits. Okay, so singular subject, but thanks for I didn't even notice that. Singular subject takes singular, and in this case, the subject is after the verb, takes a singular verb. Yeah, it's after the verb. And this is the same meaning as a red house sits over the hill. Same exact meaning. Normally, that's how you see it. The subject, the verb, and then the prepositional phrase. And this is known as a simple sentence. We're going to go over the different kinds of sentences later. And so here you have to have, so here, hovering overhead, the scene of the accident, were several traffic helicopters, because here you have the prepositional phrase, here you have the plural verb, and then several traffic helicopters, that is the subject. So that's the same thing, has the same meaning as several traffic helicopters were hovering, no, I misspelled that one, hovering overhead at the scene of the accidents. So it's the same thing. What did I misspell? Helicopters. There you go. So then you have here the plural subject, several traffic helicopters, then were hovering, plural subject, plural verb, and then your prepositional phrase. And so here, this is very, if you want to have sentence variety, you can put your prepositional phrase. It's very British, by the way, to talk like this. Americans don't tend to talk like this unless they're trying to write a book and sound literary. When people talk, do you hear people say, "Over the hill sits a red house"? Does that sound conversational? No. But it does sound like something you would read in a book. And if you're going to try to impress your teacher with your sentence variety, that's the kind of sentence you would write. Okay, so here you have I did the same thing. Down the street was the red house. Same thing. And another one is, there were 4 chairs in the room. And so here, when you have there, then you have the verb and then the subject. So here in the subject, 4 chairs is a plural subject that takes were. And here I'm doing the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. Here on your quiz, it's going to look like hovering overhead at the scene of the accident was several traffic helicopters. What kind of error is this? Is this a subject agreement error? Is this a standard English error? Is this a consistent verb error? Okay, so what kind of error is it? And here we know that when we have traffic helicopters, plural, we don't say was, we say were. So that means the answer is subject-verb agreement. So they're asking for what kind of error is in this sentence, and that's how you have several, so in order to fix this, you have to say were. So that's basically it. So was, so that's the mistake. So that's how it will look on your, on your quiz. Your verb conjugation, I is, he are, they is, you is. Which sentence is correct? Oh, here I'm supposed to go over the verb. I am, you are, he is, she is, we are, they are. So plural subjects, you and we. Plural verb takes plural verb are. Singular subjects take singular verb is. And so here, which sentence is correct? You was, you are, you is. Which is the correct sentence? A, B, or C?
B.
B, yes. And then when we have a compound subject, and in here, when you have compound subject with and, it takes a plural verb. And so for the compound subject, this is a quiz. This is a quiz question. Which verb is needed? Samantha and Jacob, do they ride, ridden, or rides a train to work every day?
They ride it.
They ride it, because here, if you're not certain, you can go over in your head. They ride, we ride. So Samantha and Jacob is the same thing as we, so it becomes we ride, they ride. So the answer is A. Which statement notes the incorrect item in the sentence? The coat and the scarf looks very warm, but the wind seems to go right through them. And so what happens is coat and scarf, that's a compound subject. That means you have more than one subject. It's a plural subject. And then here you have to have look. This coat and scarf look very warm. And so that means the error in this sentence is subject-verb agreement. Does everybody get that?
I do.
How about you, Latoya? You get it?
Yes.
Okay, and you too, Charlotte? You got it? Oh, I take that to mean yes. And so here I already went over everyone, everything. Those are all indefinite pronouns, and it always takes a singular verb. And then when you have correlative pronouns, this is where people get confused. So either Hannah or Steve. Neither Hannah nor Steve. And that always takes a singular verb, even though you have two subjects. But what we're doing is we're talking about each subject separately. So either Hannah, so then we're talking about Hannah as a separate person, or Steve, or talking about Steve as a separate person, goes to the party. And therefore, because we're talking about each of the subjects separately, then it takes a singular verb. And so here you have the example, either Alex or Hannah leads the chorus. And so here you have a singular verb because we have the word or, because we're choosing them out, we're picking them out. And so when you have the word or, it takes a, that's one way to remember it. When it becomes either, just simply remember or equals singular verb when you see the two names, and equals plural verb. So if I say Hannah or Steve, then you know it's a singular verb. Okay, this is about subject-verb agreement. If I say Hannah and Steve, that's a plural verb. That's the difference, and that's where the confusion is. Because here we're talking about either one or the other, so it takes a singular verb, and here we're talking about both of them, so that takes a plural verb. And that's what the quiz tries to test you on, if you know the difference between or and and. So if I write a plum or an orange, is or were a good snack? Forget about the were. There you go. So a plum or an orange, is are a good snack? So what is the answer? Anybody?
It is.
Is. And if I were to write a plums and oranges, okay, if I say with an and, plums, gee, that's not right, plums, okay, plums and oranges are a good snack. So suddenly I've got an and in there. So is it an is or an are?
Are.
Are. So I made this very easy so people understand the difference between then, and they both are compound. By the way, they're both compound subjects, in case you're wondering. Compound subjects simply means you have two subjects in a sentence. So even though they're both compound subjects, one of them takes a singular verb and the other one takes a plural verb. So consistent, oh, that's a different chapter in your book. I didn't always write down what chapter that is. So I guess I have to fix this. Do you understand the chapter on subject-verb agreement?
Yep.
Do you need me to repeat it again? Anybody? No.
No,
All right.
good.
So I'm gonna. Yeah. Anybody? Going,
Okay.
gone. All right. So I'm going to go to. I did all of this already. Consistent verb tense. So when we write a sentence, let's say we start the sentence in past tense, and then the entire sentence, all the rest of the verbs have to be in past tense. If I start the sentence in present tense, then all of the verbs should be in present tense. That's known as consistent verb tense. We don't change the tenses around unless something sudden, like an action comes in. That's usually a different sentence, but within one sentence, you usually use one tense. That's basically, so do not write verb tenses unnecessarily. If you begin your paper writing in the present tense, do not shift suddenly to the past tense. If you begin your paper in the past tense, do not shift suddenly to the present tense, and so on and so forth. Here's an example. The gardener breaks up the hard earth, added peat, blends the soil evenly. And so here what's wrong is suddenly the student went to past tense. You have present tense here with breaks up, and you have blends the soil is also present tense. The correct way of writing it is you have to say, the gardener breaks up the hard earth, adds peat, and blends the soil. So here you have present tense, present tense, present tense. So when you keep your tenses all the same, that's known as consistent verb tense. And so this sentence does not have consistent verb tense, because here you have Dot searched for the $20 bill she had hid somewhere in her purse. If you want, so he or she, you want to have the same tense. This would make it correct. Dot had searched for the $20 bill she had hid in her purse. It even sounds better. But if I take out the had, suddenly I have a different had, past perfect, and simple past tense. So the error in this sentence is consistent verb tense. Now, if I take this out, then I have here simple past and simple past. Dot searched for the $20 bill she hid in her purse. Now that's correct, okay? Because here you have simple past and simple past. But as soon as I make two different tenses in one sentence, then it becomes not a consistent verb tense. Does everyone understand that?
Yep.
Yep. All right. Because do you need me to, and so to go over verb tenses, you can also have simple past, which would be like had, and then you have past progressive, like was having lunch, okay? Sorry, ate, okay, ate lunch. And then you could have past perfect. Past perfect would be had eaten lunch. And then past perfect progressive, progressive, had been eating lunch. So these are just some of the examples of all the different just past tenses. And so here you have to have was eating lunch, or was searching for the $20 bill, was hiding somewhere in the purse, or had searched, had hidden, or had been searching, had been hiding. Do you understand how, so it always has to be the same tense. So if I use one verb in past perfect progressive, then the other verb also has to be in past perfect progressive. If one verb is in the past perfect, the other verb has to be in the past perfect. If one verb is in the simple past, the other verb has to be in the simple past. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And this just doesn't go for past tense, it goes for future tense, present tense. I was just using the past tense. This is just a fraction of the tenses. I mean, I could go on for an hour if I wanted to on just this one item alone, and no, I won't torture you with that. But you get the idea of just using the simple tense and everything. And here you have two different tenses. Searched is simple past, and here had hid is past perfect. So simple past and past perfect don't go together in this particular sentence. Is that good? Is that good? All right, I made it really, really short. So you need consistent verb tense in your sentences when you write your essays in order to be correct. So here he had present tense, past tense, present tense. So that's incorrect. So that's known as consist. That's a very common mistake that I see in essays. All right. Now, practice quiz 1. The dog chased the cat around the yard. What is the subject of the sentence? A, B, or C?
The dog.
C.
C.
Which verb is needed for the following sentence? Either Alex or Hannah blank the chorus.
A.
Yes, he leads, she leads, because you have or and it takes a singular verb leads. He, she, whenever you're not sure, you can always just go he leads, she leads, or they lead, that kind of thing. Which one is not true about verb tense? A, B, or C?
B.
B. Dot searched for the $20 bill. We just did this one. So is it A, B, or C?
C.
C. Which of the following is true about subject-verb agreement? A, B, or C?
A.
A. Janet earned first place in the poetry contest. What type of noun is the underlined word?
Proper. B.
Proper noun, yes, because it's somebody's name. Which statement notes the incorrect item in this sentence? A, B, or C? Latoya, is it A, B, or C? Okay.
A.
So A. Okay, that one took a while. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you were going to say A also? You could do number 8. So here you have this coat and scarf look very warm. So here you have and when you have and, you always have to have a plural verb, and therefore we look, they look. So the mistake here is subject verb agreement. So Latoya, number 8. What type of noun is the underlined word? Common, proper, or plural?
It is common.
Common, yes, because we don't say Aunt Jane. And so person, place, or thing. Which one represents active verb tense? Mackie.
What'd you say?
So which one represents active verb tense? A or B?
A.
A, because we don't have was kicked. And Latoya, which sentence represents passive verb tense?
A.
A, because we have be steered to the side of the road. Which verb is needed for the following sentence? A plum or an orange. Is it were, are, or is?
C.
C. Plum, yes, correct. A plum or an orange is a good, because we have or, and whenever we have or, it's singular. For the compound subject, which verb is needed? Samantha and Jacob ride, ridden, and rides the A train to work every day. Latoya.
Rides.
Rides. Wait a second. We ride, they ride. No, it's A. Yeah, because you have Samantha and Jacob, so
Right.
that's
Okay. Right.
ride, yes. You always got to remember to say we ride, they ride. Then you remember that this is ride, okay? Which one demonstrates a plural subject? Coats, coats, or coats? A, B, or C?
Coats. A.
A. I know, it doesn't, when you say it, it's all the same. Which one is a noun? Ran, river, or lumpy?
B.
River.
B. River, yeah. What is the correct use for the antecedent children? The children played with toys all day. A, B, or C?
A.
A. Which sentence, this is easy. Is it you was, you are, or you is?
You are.
You are. You could just say it, and for a native speaker, you could just say it and know. Which sentence below shows active tense? Latoya.
A B.
B, the movie starts today. Yes, because here the movie is doing the action of starting. The subject, true or false? The subject of a sentence tells who or what the sentence is about, or who or what is doing the action. Is that true or false?
True.
True, yes. Hovering overhead at the scene of the accident was several helicopters. What kind of error is this?
Subject verb agreement.
You're ready to take the quiz. Y'all just got 100% on the practice quiz, so y'all are all ready to take the real quiz. This is what I mean by if you can answer all of the practice quiz questions and get a 100%, then this is the practice quiz. Whenever I say get a 100% on your practice quiz in my announcements, this is what I'm talking about, okay? Because somebody was asking me what that was. So what you do is you go over all of this to yourself, and then if all the answers are over here, and so if you can get all of these correct answers correctly, then you're ready to take the regular quiz, the real quiz. And then you access the real quiz by just clicking on modules, and then you access everything, not just the quizzes, your lessons, your readings, everything just under modules. And so let's see, that's basically it for week 1. And so your week 1, this lecture is the shortest of all of my lectures because all I go over is this. So for week 1, all you have to do is just to do your introduce yourself in the week 1 forum, and then after that you take your week 1 quiz. And so once you take your week 1 quiz, you can just sit back and go, I'm done for the week, for this week. Next week you get to choose a narrative. You're going to write a narrative essay about a life lesson that you learned that was really important to you. And so what life lesson, what major event shaped your life that influenced your entire life? So my military students will say something like, when I went to boot camp, that was the one event that shaped my entire life. Or women might say, getting married and getting pregnant, having my child changed my entire life because I had to learn to be mature. It's not about me partying all night anymore because I got to be there for the kid and get a job. And so that sort of thing. So you're going to start thinking, and what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to give you all the topics that you can also look at ahead at the week, whatever the next week is. Week 5 actually. So I'm going way ahead because you have 2 essays in this class, a narrative essay and then a comparison contrast essay and persuasive essay. Actually 3 essays, but 2 of them so the next one over is narrative essay. You're going to write a story that teaches a lesson. That's the story you're going to write. A story that teaches a lesson. Think of fables, just like the fables or fairy tales that you used to read to your kid. So an example would be, for example, I love shopping on Amazon. I look at all the beautiful clothes and I think, wow, and it's really cheap. So I click on it, I buy the clothes, and then I realize, oh, it doesn't look like the way it was on the Amazon. It looks like a cheap piece of fabric. And so in this case, all that glitters is not gold. You cannot judge a book by its cover. So in this case, that's the lesson that's learned, is that just because something looks beautiful online doesn't mean that when you receive it, it's going to look the same. That's an example of a story with a lesson. That's the one using Proverbs. There are actually 3 different ways in which you can do it. Another easy topic you can have is, I became a nurse because, and then you have 3 different reasons. So this is more of a story in which you're just telling me why you became a nurse. So that is also, so narrative is basically telling a story about yourself that teaches a lesson. So any kind of narrative is some kind of story. So either one, either a lesson story or I became a nurse because. Which one is more interesting to you?
I mean, both of them are interesting in my opinion.
Yeah, so I became a nurse because, and then reason 1, reason 2, reason 3, and that becomes your entire essay. And then the 3 reasons have to be in your thesis statement, which is going to be the last sentence of your first paragraph. So start thinking right now, what 3 reasons did I become a nurse? Or what story do I want to teach with a lesson? So that would be what to think about for the next week. Because next week you're going to write an outline of your narrative essay paper. So that's why now you would start thinking, okay, what am I going to write about? That sort of thing. So if you don't have any more questions about your quiz, do you need me to go over your quiz? No. Everybody's good to go? All right, so that ends this week's lesson, and it's been great to meet all of you. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Oh, and if you want to schedule a one-on-one Zoom, you can also email me, and then after I do my lecture, like right now, I could then take care of the student. I would say, okay, any of you who don't have questions, you can leave, and then the one person with a question would stay, and then we would have that one-on-one Zoom. So that would be how that would work. So right now, since nobody has any questions, then we could all just say, see you next week, okay?
All
right. Good luck on your quiz.